Hey guys, welcome back to Chris and Retro. I get curious about something, and we all get curious from time to time about different things. And I was curious. It seems to me that every now and then we have very prominent situations with content creators. So either legalities or people coming up missing, or events that happen on their channel that are crimes. We see all kinds of stuff that goes on in social media, but we're also um, we see that obviously in all walks of life, but social media is such a prominent world right now, and the 30-second world that it really, or less than 30 seconds now, that it really permeates. And so I was noticing what appeared, at least to me, unless there's just more coverage of it, an increasing level of significant events with high profile content creators. And I saw a couple over the last week even. So I got thinking, has anybody done any study on what's are content creators subject to serious mental health issues? Are there things that are going on that haven't been really called out? And so in that curiosity, I did some digging, and that's what I'm going to share with you on the show today. So with that, we'll get started. I'll be honest with you. I first dove into this whole thing. I was thinking, okay, I'm going to look across mental health considerations. I expected that I would find a lot of information on substance use and depression, anxiety, and all those other things. And I didn't really find anything that was significant value for me to be able to talk on here that was, I think, substantive. But I did find the first thing I found was an AI generated commentary, which I didn't put a lot of credibility in. But I found this other document that I thought was going to be interesting. We'll speak from that. And it does speak to a very specific area of mental health that content creators do, in fact, are impacted by. And I have to say that I've had moments where I've been impacted by this as well. And so what I want to do is share some of the things that I found in research. But what we notice is that you hear a lot of times people say that creating a channel like a YouTube channel or some of the other platforms that are out there can be a lot of work. And I don't think people realize how much work actually does go in to have a channel be successful. This channel's been out here for going on 3 years now. And I'm just now getting to a place that I've got subscribers that are at a level that are at least somewhat respectable for the content that I have. I'm still not monetized yet based on watch hours, and that's something that we'll get there. But, I think that, it is a lot of work, and I can see why some certain things have happened. So the article that I did find really cites relative to mental health burnout. And with that, I'm going to share that with you. And we're going to talk a little bit about how burnout looks for a content creator. And maybe I'll offer some suggestions on some things I've seen, and hopefully that's going to be helpful to you. Now, in this article, this is by Agility PR Solutions. I'm not 100% sure, what all of their sources are, but this was created in October of 22. Now, I would suggest that there's been an awful lot of events since then. I don't have all those cited here, but since we're deep enough in the video, we've seen homicide on camera with YouTube channels. We've seen people upset cartels with their channels recently. All kinds of battles. I've heard of, content creators getting public nonsense from people in their communities because of things they've said on their channel. And so that's the mix of it all, is that when you aren't being heard, nobody really notices what's going on. And by the time you get to a level of prominence, you start to get some more people that are noticing. And with that comes a lot of people that have a lot to say. And the thing about social media is it's on, and people are going and watching your content at any point in time during the night, no matter how intoxicated or not intoxicated they are, depressed or not depressed. If the content actually is striking at a time when they're having an adversary that believes a similar thing, God forbid you speak about politics, you're guaranteed to get at least 50% of the people that comment ripping you apart for something. So you're exposing yourself, and you're exposing yourself in a significant way, and you're giving people 24/7 access to comment on that. So these are things that can come out. Now, this article is saying that influencers have 4 out of 5 of them of the creators are burnt out. They struggle with mental health. And I thought that was substantial, because I think that there probably are varying degrees of that, but I can say that there have been times when I've struggled with burnout, because the thing is that what is our real, I can say for me personally, I don't know about everybody, but when you create a channel, what are you looking for? Followership. If people are not commenting, or they're not liking, or they're not subscribing, or whatever, it's real easy to take that on and say, you personally are not providing value. So therefore, you personally do not have value. I'm not suggesting that's the case, but it does sometimes make you feel fraudulent. And I even think I've talked about that a little bit on the channel, that with some of the things I struggle with outside of my content creating, I have an issue with, if I'm not seeing the results should see, I start to question whether I'm fraudulent and whether it's not authentic. And why do I do that? Because I'll compare myself with something else I'm seeing. In social media, that's a real easy trap to find yourself in, is that if I go out and I put a channel together and I've got a bunch of people that I'm acquainted with that are doing channels and they're blowing mine out of the water with 500,000 or 1,000,000 subscribers, or even a couple 100,000 subscribers. And I'm just like, man, they're a, one trick pony, and they're still getting all these followers. It can be really step back and say, man, do I not communicate well? Am I not interesting enough for me? Am I too old to be doing this? These are all things that I have questioned myself. And perhaps you have too, if you're a content creator watching this. It really boils down to, how are you presenting your content, and is it relevant for whatever it is that people are talking about today? It doesn't necessarily mean that you personally are not relevant, or your message doesn't have any opportunity for people to want to enjoy it. Timing is everything, and the words you use are everything. And then depending on the platform rules, it matters a ton on where you fit into what they're willing to promote without a lot of your effort. And unfortunately, a portion of that has to do with followership, subscribes, what people are talking about, whether they like it or don't, all these things. And that's why we all beg you to like, subscribe, and comment, because if you do that, then we're getting more visibility to our message, depending on whatever that is. I've had people that have talked to me about, what we're doing on the channel. And I actually had one, Mitch Smiley with Hard Intentions. I love Mitch personally. I think Mitch is just a great guy. If you know him personally at all, he's real. He's everything that he is on the YouTube channel. But he's got a heart for people in a way that I think he sees through nonsense better than most, and he has a right to. But he also is something I have a lot of respect for, and I just see him just get it done without an awful lot of people around him. He gets life done. And so for that, I have a lot of respect. But he called my channel the Common Sense Channel. And I thought that was great. I love that moniker, that he sees me as a common sense person. I don't really try to move along lines of any like camp versus another. I usually just try to think through things and voice my opinion. But the trap for me is, as a common sense channel, as I can be the well duh channel too. So what? There's nothing that I'm really going to go to that's going to motivate me to move beyond, unless I'm just looking for some content that's going to make somebody to advocate for somebody in a way that they needed to be advocated for. So with that, I'm always challenged to make sure I'm giving you something that is entertaining, but at the same time beneficial to you in your walk. Now, in this article, we talked with the content creators and online influencers. It says Instagram was reported the primary platform driving burnout. Instagram is the primary platform for driving burnout. Sorry, I knew if I read enough, I'd actually learn how to read at my age. According to 71% of the respondents. So 71% of the people that responded to this said that out of all the platforms that they work on, Instagram is the one that leads to the most burnout. Why is that? Because the volume of content that you need to create to have any followership on that at all really depends on what your element of your requirement for you to feel successful. You look at TikTok versus YouTube. I mean, if I have, when things were going so poorly on the channel in terms of subscribers, if I had 1,600 subscribers on here, I'd have been happy. I'm over that 1,000 mark, and I know we're heading in the right direction. But at 1,600 subscribers on TikTok is just kind of a joke. It really boils down to what that program is and what it is that they're doing to push it. And with TikTok and Instagram, these are instant gratification messages. It's an image. It's a quick saying. It's, inspirational short music. It's something funny. It's whatever it is, but it's a real blip, boom, you're to the next. You're scrolling, boom, 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 you're next. Whereas this platform requires you to have content that's got something that you really want to know something about. And with that, there's some maturity that comes when you're developing it. Now, I'm not sitting here as an expert on content creation by any means. I'm actually very infantile and in many ways not that successful yet at this. But it is something you continue to push forward. And I think that I feel what some of these people are going through relative to burnout. They said that 87% of the respondents were female. They're between 25 and 44. 72% of them were the 25 to 44. I'm way outside that range. 92% of them used Instagram. I happen to fall in there. 52% use TikTok. I fall in there. 44% use Facebook. I do use Facebook, but Facebook's really more for my friends and family. I don't really use it for the show at all. And then use YouTube. 31% use YouTube. I find it interesting that the people that are having this extraordinary burnout are using these shorter attention span platforms primarily, and they're falling in the 25 to 44 range, this instant gratification. It says that over 56% of influencers surveyed acknowledge that the pandemic has increased the levels of burnout overall, which I found interesting because that was when we were most isolated, and where social media and content creation was probably one of the things that you could do. But it says that to me that the more volume of that you're exposed to, the more you're going to get burned out, because you're going to be you're going to be feeling that you're doing a lot more work on something that really isn't yielding a lot of result. At the same time, when pandemic and all these other things are in place, that you don't have a lot more things to do, and that's all you have, you're competing at a high volume with a lot of other content creators. It's kind of like if you have, I use Uber a lot. And so if I'm in Uber, I get really good rates if there's a lot of cars around. I live in Western New York. If it's not cold and snowy, you probably can get a lot of cars. If it's cold and snowy, you're not going to get a lot of cars. So there's going to be a lot more available, and all the cars that are out there are going to get all of the business. But they're going to charge a premium price for that. So you're going to pay a lot more for those as well as a consumer, supply and demand. However, in the content creation world, the more content creators there are and more people that have nothing more to do than just do that, it becomes much more competitive to have your voice heard versus 10, 20 times more people than you'd normally face. And so timing and all that other stuff are considerations. And I think with the pandemic, with a complete glut of information, it was hard to stand out, and you would have to create a lot and find some niche to make that work. And I think that people really did get burned out because of it. They said about 66% of those surveyed content creators said burnout is impacting their mental health. And that's where it becomes a problem. So it's one thing to get burned out with doing something. If you've done a workout, or if you've read books, or whatever, and what have you. I mean, there's things over time that you get burned out with and you really have lost interest in them. But most of those things are just, you go on to the next and find something else to do. Whereas when it starts to spill into impacting your mental health, now you got to start looking at, okay, what is your value system that you're being driven by social media content? It tells you how powerful a tool it is, that if your value system is being impacted, or your self-worth, or your depression or anxiety are all being impacted by it, it tells it's an incredibly powerful tool. But also go into it with a cautionary tale that even though it's highly accessible, and I could sit in my home, in my office, with a halo light and a camera and some basic software and a microphone, I can create it without a lot of crazy costs or anything else. Even though it's highly accessible, it doesn't mean that you're going to hit a home run. It actually means it's going to be harder for you to hit a home run in that area. 78% of influencers admit to suffering burnout, 30% often, 48% sometimes. I would say that I'm in the sometimes range. What's causing the burnout? And I find this interesting, and I will have some comments on this. They're saying that platform changes is far and away the highest amount. The lack of quality or creativity, so the lack of things to talk about. I've run into that with this. I mean, my window is kind of tight, so I've tried to expand it where I could and still not lose sight of my mission here. That's over half, 64%. And then never turning off from social media. This 58% believe it, never turning off, and I definitely feel that. If you look at it, even if you're a content creator, you're also a consumer. So now you're really doubling and tripling down on your interaction with social media, and it can be something that's very exhausting and can be really difficult to find something that's interesting to you to keep your interest. So you look more and look more and look more. They say pressure of losing followers is 47% of burnout. I think it depends on how many followers you lose. I can tell you it sucks when you see a follower leave. It's like, that sucks. Took so long to get here, and now you see one go away. Doesn't bother me as much now I'm in the thousands. But man, when you're in the hundreds and you see one go, it sucks, and you can feel it. And then the pressure of earning a paycheck at 44%. I don't do this for an income. I'm hoping at some point it becomes a portion of my income, but this has definitely never been something I saw is going to turn out to be my career. But it would be nice if I became one of those channels. I look at No Life Shack, and to me, he's very inspirational. If you haven't watched his channel, please do. He reacts to videos all the time. And, well, the music he listens to on there all the time, it's just really not my cup of tea. I love his content. I think he's great. He's energetic. He's been doing it a long time. He's got great followership, and he's really established himself as expert in leading in his field, even at a very young age, and it's done well for him. That's a primary income for him. Whereas for me, this is something I do based on a purpose that I believe in, a calling I have for my life. So those are the big things they say. I've shared some of that. They said the pandemic increased it. So there's asking, what are they content creators doing to cope with it? 49% are saying alternate income streams. 44% they created dedicated times to post, which I think is wise. I do that. 44% schedule vacations or days off. I have not done that because I haven't had a need to. 18% rely on fellow creators or network. That I definitely do. And then 12% use resources available from platforms. I haven't really found the resources available from any one of the platforms to be all that good. I mean, boosting things and stuff like that has, moderate results back, but generally speaking, your content's just going to have to start being consumed by people that want to interact with it, and that's going to take a lot of work no matter what way you slice it. So you got to make sure your message is solid. Most people don't think, 54% say there's no help at all from the platforms. I definitely would agree with that. Facebook, I don't think offers any help. Instagram, very little. 85% said that none do, that they don't at all. So that's the article that I was driving a lot of this from. And they are what I went into it with thinking, okay, I'm going to find mental health issues because people have all these things going on and it just happens to be now being put out in blast. I hadn't really considered burnout and the long-term impacts what burnout can do for you. So you can't really grind through burnout necessarily. You're going to have to make some course correction and some adjustments. So I guess some things I would say going into as you go into yours are, the network thing is huge. Rely on other content creators, get their advice. I do that. I reach out to people, Chad, Jesse, Mitch, a couple others I reach out to, and they're very open to talking. I'm open to talking to people about, what they are doing. There's a couple of small channels that are just getting started, like Preacher's Corner. I'm open to conversation to help them get going. We all kind of do that for each other. But I think you need to set reasonable objectives when you're going into it. What are your expectations for what you're doing? To me, this actually is part of my recovery. It's part of my mental health process, and I enjoy doing it. I love coming in and thinking of things to talk about and having a platform to do it where, I get to say what I want to say, and I get to, hopefully it's a message that resonates with you and hopefully it helps you. I also get to give people exposure that wouldn't otherwise have exposure by having them come on the channel. But it's definitely not easy. Your network is going to be important. Learn from your mistakes, learn from things that did well and didn't. Take a good inventory of what you're doing. Don't just wing it. And be consistent. I mean, one of the things where I was struggling for a while is I wasn't really consistent. So I wasn't creating shorts. I wasn't using some of the tools that are available to have that content actually mean something. So I'm more consistent. I actually do schedule shorts out in advance with somewhat of a theme. I try to make sure that the main videos are being created on a more frequent, consistent basis. That's really, really important. And I've been terrible on it early on, and I have seen direct results from that. Try new things. I've done reactions on here to people arguing. I've talked about current events, and I will continue to do more of that. This is a switch, and then I'm talking about the mental health of other content creators, which is not really something I normally do. Now, some of them, I don't need to have a diagnosis for. You can tell they're just friggin' nuts. You can tell about 3 seconds in their video. And then make sure that what you're doing is sustainable. If you got some cool idea, make sure that you can look at it in the total and the 360 of it. And what I mean by that is, what are the different angles? How is your audience going to hear this information? Even if it's not exactly the way you're going to hear it, how are they going to hear it? It's hard for me to do that because my style and the way that I see things is going to come at you from a certain angle. And it's hard for me to do it in ways that all people hear. So you're going to have to accept that in some ways you're not going to touch base with everybody that possibly could benefit from your information. But at the same time, make sure that when you're going into it, it is sustainable. And I'll always keep a fresh angle on things. Try not to get stuck in ruts, because if people aren't responding to what you currently have, as they say, definition of insanity is doing something that didn't work multiple times. Continue to do the things that aren't working, or I forget exactly how it's stated, but it is insane to find something not working and keep doing it, or find something that keeps getting you in trouble and you keep doing it. So with that, I just wanted to make sure I shared that with you because I thought it was interesting. I went into this looking at all these crazy crimes that you hear about with content creators, and it wasn't freaking me out or anything like that, but I'm just saying, man, what is going on? Are we all nuts? Some of it is that we take this very personally. You look at my brand. Yeah, I got a logo and that's great, whatever. But my brand is me. I'm Chris, so it's hard to see a channel not grow and go, man, Chris, you suck. It's real hard not to feel like Chris sucks, because Chris's message, and this is authentically me. I'm not really much different off camera than I am on camera, except for when I'm a little heated. The reaction to the CO beating, I would definitely tone that down. But there's that identity thing. So if my channel's not succeeding, then somehow I must not be good at what I do. And then also, when you talked about people in here with needing alternate income streams, I would tell you that if this is what you're going out to do to make your income, you might want to pause for a minute and have something else going on, and then just do this and then see where it goes. For me, I've never had the aspirations that this was going to be my primary income. Who knows? Maybe it'll be that. That would be awesome, honestly. But that's not really what I see happening. I continue to have a career and do my work, and I want to strive and do excellent there. And I do this channel, and hopefully it's beneficial to everybody that listens. Guys, I really hope this was useful to you. If you're looking at making a new channel, some of the things I'm pointing out to you, be aware this is not easy. Jesse Merle, Jesse on Fire, man, he says this all the time. This is hard work. He's really not kidding. I mean, my son just got back he's a mason, and he just poked his head in and told me about their day. They had somehow the concrete truck couldn't pour into this basement, and so him and his boss had to shovel 1,600 pounds of gravel into a basement before they even got started on the job. So he was feeling it. That's hard work. This is not really that hard work, but it is hard to get heard, and it's hard to come up with innovative ideas, and it is work. You can't just wing it. You've got to think about what you're doing before you come out here. And then I hope you're successful when you do. It is fun. If you're talking about something that you're passionate about, this is super fun. There are days when I just really look forward to getting on here because of an idea I have. This was just interesting to me. I got a little bit like, what is that? Are we all nuts that are doing this? Are these crimes prevalent? Are we all losing our mind because we're doing this? Or is there just something I need to call out? And lo and behold, there is. It's called burnout, and burnout in content creation can lead to other mental health issues. So with that, go into it with reasonable expectations. Have a plan to mitigate that burnout the best you can, and good luck on your channel. I hope you guys get monetized quickly, especially on YouTube, and everybody falls in love with your content. For now, please like and subscribe, comment, like and subscribe, please comment. Really trying to grow the channel. We're over 8,000 subscribers today, which isn't huge, but it's good for me. So I would love to have you guys get involved. I need to make sure you guys are watching the content throughout, so my watch hours are getting up, and that I can do more of this type of thing, and bringing on guests and things along those lines to make it interesting and useful for you. Thank you so much. And between now and the next time we talk, I'm going to stay out of trouble. I hope you do too.